There's a lot of metabolic machinery that's upregulated when we're consistent with our exercise. Now, guess what? That same metabolic machinery is upregulated when we're fasting. So here's my thinking, and I could be wrong on this, but if we fast more consistently and more predictably, our body's going to make the appropriate adaptations and we'll start to increase these same molecular pathways and so forth, mitochondrial biogenesis, AMPK, that are increased when we exercise. And we know, again, from exercise data, the more consistent that people train and so forth, the more that they can maintain those beneficial adaptations in a high level of fitness. So that got me thinking, okay, it's back to this Metabolic Monday concept. If we can be consistent with our feeding fasting patterns during the week, and just every week, one day, we're doing a prolonged fast, whether it's eating one meal a day or a 20 to, up to 36-hour fast, which is what I do. Basically, the parameters here is you have an early dinner on Sunday and you just don't eat on Monday. Now, if you're very physically active, you're training a lot, you're an athlete, it might be hard for you. I've noticed on days where I'm very physically active, I'll just do a one meal a day on that Monday, but I try to at least get a 24-hour fast. And so yeah, that's kind of the parameters. And again, the idea, the thinking, the rationale is that you're baking in some sort of consistency metabolically. And the data that we know, at least from exercise, humans and animal models, is consistency with exercise yields the benefits. Hey friends, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about why fasting consistency may be more important than overall fasting duration, and why fasting on a Monday can really kickstart your week and improve mental clarity and free you from this chain and ball that we have towards food. So I want to welcome you back. It's Mike Munsell here. I appreciate you being here. So if you've been watching these videos and this channel for any length of time, back in February of 2019, I came up with this idea. And I'm not saying that I'm this super creative person, but I realized, and I'll tell you the backstory, that fasting on a Monday would really help my productivity, my mental clarity, and help me have some sort of freedom from this emotional attachment that I had with food, and help me just get some momentum to kickstart the week off with a lot of momentum and inertia. And I realized that momentum begets more momentum. And if you start the week off feeling crappy, if you binge eat or have some fast food or something like that, you're really going to kind of feel like, man, this week is just like the last. It's going to be a crappy week. What's wrong with me? Maybe I'm just broken. Maybe I'm screwed up. I thought, gosh, if I can just start the week off with a clean slate where I'm super mentally aware and my mental acuity is just on fire, on point due to what happens when we fast, that would just propel. In each week, I would get more and more momentum, more and more productivity would increase, my progress and everything. So I thought, gosh, well, how can I make this something that would be sticky for other people? So I thought that Metabolic Monday, you're really getting the metabolic advantage of fasting, and it's on a Monday, and it's some consistency. And I think it got some initial momentum. A lot of people got excited about it. And I've learned Peter Attia and the folks that run the Zero app and Thomas DeLauer are promoting this as well, which I think is really exciting. So the more people we can get on board and open to the idea of fasting and its health benefits, and kind of to free ourselves from this idea that we need to have 120 or 150 grams of carbs per day for our brain to function, which is complete nonsense. Your brain does need energy, but it can get that from ketones and fat. So here's what I wanted to kind of share with you, my theory. And again, I don't have a lot of hard scientific evidence to prove to you this. And on this channel, sometimes every now and again, I do a video like this where I don't have randomized placebo-controlled studies that I'm going to say, this is exactly how it works. But hear me out. So in this intermittent fasting kind of ketogenic diet space over the years, I've seen people come and go. I've seen people lose weight, regain it, and lose it again. And I think consistency is the best way to just maintain anything in life, any sort of progress. Some of my most physically fit friends, my friends that make the most money, they don't work 90-hour weeks some weeks and then 5-hour weeks the next. They're very consistent, where it's 35, 40 hours a week they work. They make multiple millions of dollars a year. They're very consistent. When they get up, when they stop working, when they start working, my friends that are very fit year round and who consistently improve, they don't just do one big workout a month. They're doing this like 5-6 days a week, doing the same things. So I thought, gosh, it would be great if you could just do like this big long fast once a month or once a quarter. But then, sometimes you might lose motivation. Life gets in the way, summer plans, travel, things like that. So I thought, okay, well, what if you just fast for 24 hours every single week? At the end of the year, you fasted cumulative, more days than many people will fast if they do a bunch of different sporadic kind of, fly-by-night 5-day fasts. And so I thought, gosh, well, that kind of gets us close to this roughly 20% calorie restriction where all these magical health benefits and longevity benefits, at least per animal model studies, show are effective. Again, animal model studies show if they can restrict calories in a laboratory setting in mice and rats and monkeys even, they can enhance longevity by about 20%. So you get about 17% if you don't eat any more or less calories than your maintenance and you just restrict food for 1 day per week. That's it, which is very doable. Plus you get the added benefits of the mental clarity, kicking your week off with a lot of steam. And plus that means that it can free you up on a Sunday so you're not having to, cancel on family dinners and meal plans. Of course, we're not doing that right now in this coronavirus quarantine and so forth. But generally, especially with summer and spring, upon us, it's nice to have some freedom and not think, oh my gosh, I have to, because when I was doing fitness, bodybuilding and meal plans in the early 2000s, my whole Sunday was like baking chicken breasts, preparing my oatmeal and brown rice and all that. And it got in the way of socializing. So I thought, gosh, if I can free myself from that, I can really focus on learning, being with my daughter, going on hikes, not having to do these different things. So anyway, that's kind of the backstory about Metabolic Monday. And I will cut to some footage now with Dr. Robin Walsh, who kind of inspired me back in 2016, where she said, you know what, my patients who have prediabetes, hypertension, struggle with body composition, I just had them fast every other day, not on the weekends, just Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I thought, that's pretty interesting. I thought for me, being physically active, fasting that much may not have some benefits for me from what I'm trying to achieve with muscle hypertrophy and maintaining lean body mass, but that could be a great recommendation for people that want to lose weight. So I'll cut to that footage so you can hear kind of her perspective.
I do find sort of clinically with some of my, really overweight or insulin resistant patients that sometimes the 36-hour one in those really stubborn weight cases is just kind of better. I kind of just played around with it in terms of what my patients sort of would like and tried a bunch of different things. But for me, it seems to be 3 days a week, non-consecutive days. And I give patients the flexibility of being able to choose which days they do that. So, if they have a function on a Monday night or they have a work function, they're not tied to fasting, so they can go out and eat at their work function. So fundamentally, I usually suggest Monday, Wednesday, Friday so that they don't have to fast on a weekend. But they can also do, Monday, Thursday, Saturday if they feel like that works better for them. So it gives people the flexibility of kind of being able to choose what they want to do with that.
So as you can see, she's a really well-versed healthcare practitioner. She has a background in dietetics and is a naturopathic doctor, has a very busy practice just outside of Toronto. So she's a great person that if you're in that area, you should connect with. So again, let's kind of talk about the metabolic machinery and talk about why fasting consistency may be more important than just doing a big fly-by-night 6 or 10-day fast, right? So if we think about exercise and we think about some of the physiology that occurs and the adaptations that occur through exercise, we think about mitochondrial biogenesis, mitochondrial density, all these different enzymes that are involved in oxidizing fat. We think about the cellular molecular switch called AMPK is upregulated. So there's a lot of metabolic machinery that's upregulated when we're consistent with our exercise. Now, guess what? That same metabolic machinery is upregulated when we're fasting. So here's my thinking, and I could be wrong on this, but if we fast more consistently and more predictably, our body's going to make the appropriate adaptations and we'll start to increase these same molecular pathways and so forth, mitochondrial biogenesis, AMPK, that are increased when we exercise. And we know, again, from exercise data, athletes, they're very consistent. The more consistent that people train and so forth, the more that they can maintain those beneficial adaptations in a high level of fitness. So that got me thinking, okay, it's back to this Metabolic Monday concept. If we can be consistent with our feeding fasting patterns during the week and just every week, one day, we're doing a prolonged fast, whether it's eating one meal a day or a 20 to, up to 36-hour fast, which is what I do. And again, the last few weeks, I haven't been doing it after this surgery that I had, this hernia surgery. To be honest, I just didn't have the motivation to do it. For whatever reason, it was weird. I didn't do cold plunges, didn't exercise, didn't fast, but I'm back on it. And so basically the parameters here is you have an early dinner on Sunday and you just don't eat on Monday. Now, if you're very physically active, you're training a lot, you're an athlete, it might be hard for you. I've noticed on days where I'm very physically active, I'll just do a 1 meal a day on that Monday, but I try to at least get a 24-hour fast. And so yeah, that's kind of the parameters. And again, the idea, the thinking, the rationale is that you're baking in some sort of consistency metabolically. And the data that we know, at least from exercise, humans and animal models, is consistency with exercise yields the benefits. It's not the people that do 1 Ironman a year, they're not the most fit compared to people that do, they're training for a specific event with some sort of baked in periodization where training volumes increase and they decrease and so forth, but it's that consistency. So again, if you're wanting to get more consistency in your life, and you'll know that on social media, other people are doing it with you, I would encourage you to join this Metabolic Monday. And I'll link back to one of the first videos that we talked about this back in 2019, this idea, this premise. Since then, I think a lot of people have been doing this, but now that we're quarantined in our homes, the ability to have food at 24/7, it's right at our fingertips, is very high. I think we need to have some self-imposed limitations on how much we can or can't eat. Now, it's kind of embarrassing, but one of the things that I honestly do on Mondays is I'll take a zip tie and tie up my refrigerator. Okay. So again, this is a low friction kind of thing to go buy. Any of us, no matter if you live in a condominium or whatever, you can go buy a zip tie at a hardware store. It's very inexpensive. And what that prevents me from doing is just mindlessly snacking. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, Mike, you have an eating disorder. You're zip tying your refrigerator. I thought when you posted that on social media last year, it was just a joke. Well, it is a joke, but it also has some truth to it, because working from home, sometimes in between phone calls or some sort of stressful event, I would mindlessly just go to my refrigerator and have some cashews or have some almond milk or whatever. I mean, I wasn't even hungry. It was just basically mindlessly eating. So I found that if I could just create a little bit more friction between me and my food sources, well, guess what? That helped me not break my fast and again, get more consistency and feel good about my willpower and my progress. And so, again, if we get progress in one domain in our life, we're more likely to also get progress in another domain, right? So if your food domain and your health domain is lacking, that might carry over and have some negativity infused into your work domain or your relationship domain or your mental well-being domain. So I feel like all these things, when you raise, the saying goes, a high tide lifts all boats. So when you start to get progress in other areas of your life, it has some carryover into different domains. So again, whether you want to use the hashtag Fast Monday, that the app Zero, which is a great app to track your fasts. Last time I checked here, it's about 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. There were 700,000 people doing it, which is great. Majority of those people are just doing a 16/8 or a 24, where they're fasting for 20 hours, opening up the window for 4 hours. Whatever it is, just do something. There's other people doing this with you. There's a lot of health benefits. And if you really want to work up to the full 30 to 36 hour fast, I would highly recommend doing that. I use the hashtag Metabolic Monday on my Instagram and so forth, so you can follow that and see. There's been a lot of other people that are doing this, getting a lot of great benefits. So thanks for tuning in. I encourage you to do something, right? Especially during this time when having food, there's not a lot of friction between us and our cupboards. We're home. A lot of us are not used to working from home. We're by ourselves. We're isolated. There's a lot of uncertainty. So this is where fasting can come in to kind of create a little bit, some hard stops between when we eat and when we don't. So hopefully you can join us. And if you do, please tag me over on Instagram. It's metabolic_Mike. Use the hashtag Metabolic Monday. Definitely use the Zero app. It's a great app. And thanks for tuning into this video. Feel free to butcher up my hypothesis that consistency with fasting, some of the metabolic machinery that are parallel or shared with exercise has some benefits. So yeah, it's an interesting hypothesis. Maybe one day we'll be able to prove it. But anyway, hope you have a great day, great week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on a future episode down the road. Bye now.